Recording in progress.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Are you able to hear me? Anybody there? I'm starting again.
Doing this thing again.
All right, let's see. I'm starting again.
Recording in progress.
Oh, there you go. Hi, Rebbe.
Oh, hi. Can you hear?
No, you see this little
No, I
mark
can't hear
already?
you.
Yeah.
That means that they can't hear you.
Yeah,
That means
wasn't
that
it such a press it?
So you just tap the screen. Just tap the screen, press unmute.
Okay.
The screen again.
Yeah, now we got
That was good.
So,
Hear you. See you.
Rebbe, did you ever find your lefty glove? Because you got to bring it up to the country. Did the
No.
guy ever return it?
no, he never returned it, the guy.
Wow. Maybe he's on the Zoom. We can try to find it for you. We'll see.
I was Messiah already. A lefty glove. Yeah. Okay. I want to thank the sponsors of the Shiur. First of all, the Chevron Meridian, and also one of the Chaverim, the Ilu Nishmas Esther Tova Bas Eliezer Ben Yom HaKohen, and the Neshama Shavon Li, and the whole family Shemaya Simcha, Nachas, and Bracha. And also the Ilu Nishmas, the Stern family, Ilu Nishmas Rachel Bas Svi, and the Neshama Shavon Aliyah, and Simcha, Nachas, and Bracha. Okay, we're on page Ayin Dalid in the Shivas Nefesh. Ayin Dalid. Ika Gvuras Halev Loichim HaSadikim on the bottom of the page. We've been talking through this Torah the past 2 weeks about how the Ika Gvur of a person, the Ika strength that a person has is Gvuras Halev. What that means. And from where does one take this Gvuras Halev? So this is what we're up to. Having a connection to Sadikim, which of course is a very, very big topic in Likutei Moharan, Likutei Halachos, by all the Sadikim, but especially by Rabbi Nachman, the inyan of his Hiskashus, the connection to a Sadik. B'tzarech ladas, again, the bottom of page Ayin Daled. B'tzarech ladas, sha'afilu mi shelibo cholish legamrei. Even a person whose heart is very, very weak. He's not able to do anything, meaning he feels helpless in the hands of the other side. He feels just simply incapable of moving forward and so on. So gam hu yochel lekabel met sadikim leiv chadash. The tzaddikim are standing there with a leiv chadash, with a new heart, to offer anybody who comes into the dal amos of the tzaddik, of the true tzaddikim, a leiv chadash, a new heart, leiv shemech, a heart that's filled with simcha. Ad she'afich bekirbo ruach chadasha. Ad she'afich, until it mamish breathes into the person a new ruach, by coming into contact with the tzaddikim. Of course, a living tzaddik it's an unbelievable thing to be able to experience what that's like. Where a person can be at the bottom, and to be with the tzaddik. But of course, also to learn this form of tzaddikim, to connect to the tzaddikim. And a person can receive a ruach hadasha, liz koslios gibor, to become a person who is a gibor. That he's able to conquer new territory in his avodas Hashem, and to bring out into his life things that he has felt too weak to be able to accomplish until now. To do the Ratzon of Hashem. And I've seen this many times, and I've experienced it myself. That one word from a tzaddik, I've told many times over the years that by the Lubavitcher that I was able to get just an encouragement. Even he didn't say something to me; he just waved his hand to give me some chizuk, and I still take from that chizuk that I got from the Rebbe's waving of the hand. So it's a ruach chadasha that a person can acquire by connecting to a tzaddik. And unfortunately, the opposite way is true. When sometimes where there's a person who's officially, it might be a teacher of Torah, but is not a tzaddik, that person has an unbelievable way of taking away your ruach, of sapping you of your strength, while teaching you something in Torah. But if it's not a tzaddik, so then, or at least a good erlich yid, so then it doesn't give you a ruach chadasha. It fills you with a ruach ra and takes away your strength. Even though, of course, the ikar is that a person should conduct his own campaign to strengthen his heart, as we've been learning about in this Torah until now, to acquire a gvuras halev, the midah of gvuras halev. This is what we were talking about last week. Okay, you're telling me, Rabbi Nachman is saying that the ikar is to have gvuras halev. But in order for me to get this gvuras halev, I have to have gvuras halev. So how does that work? You want me to have gvuras halev? I understand it's a good thing. And the answer that Rabbi Nachman to be so was to have gvuras halev. To have gvuras halev. So then how do you begin? So for many people who feel that they can't begin within themselves, they can turn to somebody outside of themselves. And that's where the tzaddik comes in. He says, where do you take the koch to begin? How do you begin? Right? The main thing is to be in the milchama, So from where do you take the strength that you have b'chlal ratzon to be in the milchama? That you want to be in the fight? You don't feel like fighting at all. The ikar here is to have iskarbus to sadikim. You could ask the question, so from where do I get the ratzon to have iskarbus to sadikim? But that's much easier to answer because it's outside of yourself. Because you feel that you don't have anything inside of yourself to draw from. But that doesn't mean that you don't believe that the tzaddik is a reservoir, is a ma'ayan, a wellspring of kindness. So even though you don't have the energy, you like to connect yourself, you could still have the ratzon to connect yourself to a person who does. And that's a living tzaddik, of course, is gavaldik, but limud misifreim kedoshim, or to learn the Sfarim HaKadoshim. It's also wonderful to learn the Sfarim HaKadoshim. Ashehem machdirim belev, because the Sfarim HaKadoshim have a way of penetrating deep into the heart. Machdirim belev. Kor shel hischaskus otzum, there was a kor sheyesh leish Yisraeli. And you begin through connecting to these Sfarim of the tzaddikim, you begin to feel that strength coming back to you. You begin to have a ratzon and a koach through studying the Sfarim of the tzaddikim. I mentioned this a few months ago that I personally, everybody has their own Sfarim that they connect to, obviously. Everybody's different. So I've always found over the years that whenever I learn any of the Chavetz Chaim Sfarim, like I have tremendous ischaskas. Even though I would say that intellectually it's not as satisfying. The Chavetz Chaim generally writes very simply. It's very pashut. The Chavetz Chaim's Musar, his teachings are very simple. There's no question that I always felt that the Chavetz Chaim is this hashpah, is like so much in the words. And the way he wrote those words, not to say other tzaddikim didn't, but there's something, everybody has a different way of connecting to different tzaddikim. But I always found it so remarkable because I know when I open up the Chavetz Chaim, I'm not looking for some chiddush, like some fascinating insight into the parasha, even though of course there are those in the Chavetz Chaim's writings, of course. But that's not, but when you just read when the Chavetz Chaim just is saying something simple, like he'll write something like, take this to heart and try to remember what your friend is going through. I don't know. You read something like that from the Chavetz Chaim. When I read from the Chavetz Chaim, it just does something. The Chavetz Chaim, and everybody can connect to the tzaddikim, and that tzaddik that you feel connected to in a different way. And it's not dafka dependent upon. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not dafka dependent upon the chomer, the material. It's for whatever reason your neshama has a connection to that tzaddik, and And when you have a connection to that tzaddik can be saying to you, "Good morning," and it makes a very big reshim on you. And somebody else says, "Good morning, good morning." But this is it's an Indian in the sherish of a person is, and to learn many svarim, to see different svarim from different sadikim, to learn them, and to begin to develop a connection to different sadikim. And it gives you, it's machdir and believe it. And you could read something that might be, someone might say, "Oh, this is so beautiful, it's so deep, this is so amazing," but it's not machdir related. That's why in the chalal, when it comes to this, I mentioned I don't know if it's in this chabur or one of the other chaburs. When you learn the Zohar Kodesh, if you learn the Zohar Kodesh, you have to have a heart from stone, even if it's made from stone. When you learn the Zohar Kodesh, even if you don't understand what you're saying, Rabbi Shimon had a way. I was opening everything up. When you learn Zohar Kodesh, it's a different limud. When you learn Rabbi Shimon, it's a different limud. Machdir and believe. Machdir and believe. Many times when you're reading the Zohar Kodesh, it says that Rabbi Shimon starts crying. It says Rabbi Shimon's crying. Well, no, when he's saying this Torah, he's crying. And it says Rabbi Shimon's laughing when he's saying this Torah. There's nothing else like this. There's no other Sefer that says I'm crying and laughing. And so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is, come Rabbi Shimon. He says he gets up like this sometimes. He couldn't sit down when he was saying this. He would stand up when he was saying this. The whole experience of being in that chavaya with Rabbi Shimon, and it's achdir and believe. And I always felt that with Rabbi Nachman as well. That regardless of what I learned from Rabbi Nachman, anything that I learned from Rabbi Nachman, it's machdir and believe, because boom. Korshel es chazkas otzam. Here is a korsh yesh leish Yisraeli. You begin to feel that you have strength. You begin to recognize that you could do something. You can do something. You could change something. And I say kol milchama, that you could go to war and you could win. Machmas Yaakrov's nishmasa, because of how strong your neshama is, you begin to feel strengthened and emboldened by the words of the tzadikim. And you begin to look at your life in a different way. Not just the koch that you have now. You begin to look at your life and you begin to see that you have many good things about yourself. When you read from the tzadikim, you begin to see that you have nekudas tovos, that there are many wonderful things in your life. You have many things to be grateful for, and you have tremendous koiches. And it could be. It doesn't mean that you're reading that Torah, dafki, you're learning that Torah where the tzaddik is talking about your nekudas tovos. You could be reading a different Torah where the tzaddik is talking about something in the parasha. He's talking about Shemitah. So yes, mine in Shemitah Asal Hasinai. But somehow, from reading this Torah from the tzaddik, you feel his errors, and because the neshama of the tzaddik is in that Torah, and not only that, but you can begin to see yourself in a different way. Why? Because when the tzaddik was saying that Torah, which usually these were Torahs that the tzaddik said, when the Torah was saying that Torah, he was looking at his chevra, and he was looking at them with the loving eyes of a tzaddik, with the ratzon to be mashpia something in this person, and to see the good in that person. Like I mentioned to you, the Maisa, or so the very Baruch Mashbitz, or the Mishnah, one of the big tzaddikim. That it's all a story behind it, but the main thing is that he wouldn't say Torah until he would be able to learn from somebody. He would look at everybody in the room and to see what he could learn to take from that person. And he kept going out and coming back. Finally he stayed. And he said afterwards that there was a yid there that just did the most disgusting, horrible avay before he came to the tish. He did a horrible, disgusting avay. So I couldn't say Torah. I was so bothered by this. And because I have to look at everybody and be makal from somebody. Each person to be makal with something. What can I say? He said, but then I saw in this person an unbelievable madrega. That even after he did the most disgusting thing, he still wanted to come to the tzaddik. He wanted to come for some Torah, he wanted to come to a tish. So he wanted to be part of it. Now, a lot of people would not see it that way. But you understand, these are how the tzaddikim looked at people. He found in Lamed Schus, what an unbelievable thing that this person came to the tish. After I would do an affair like that, I wouldn't be able to look at somebody. So you could say he's a mechutzef, right? Most of us would say he's a mechutzef. So now he wants to go. He did an Avera. Now he wants to have Friday night entertainment or something. Go to a Rebbe or something. He's a mechutzev. But the tzaddik says, "What a betrayal, Bal Madrega." It's Bal Madrega. That he's still trying to hold on to the truth. He comes to a tish. He wants to do tshuva. He wants to do that. So when you're learning a sefer from that tzaddik, so the tzaddik is in the sefer, is in the words, and that's what we once learned from the Tasha Rabbi, that piece in Havai Savaidan by Yigash. I was talking to one of the Chaveim who's a teacher. I was talking to him yesterday, and he's doing most of his teaching online and in the computer. And I was talking to him a little bit about this. I told him, I just remember, I told him I was sending the piece that I told him that it's good. The computer's it's good. You can reach a lot more people. It's very, very good. But it's important to talk to Jews, to see them, to talk to them, because then there's this transaction of neshamas that takes place. There are these deals that go on between neshamas in a room. That it's not on a computer, such a thing. It's when you're with that person, there are different things that go on that happen that you can't see. And especially when it comes to Sadik, Sadik was sitting and he's saying Torah over, and it wasn't just some idea that he had. He was saying these Torahs over. Most of the sadikim from the Talmidei of Hashem, they didn't prepare the Torah at all. They didn't prepare anything. They would walk in, they would look at the Yidden that were there, and there was some that they would say a pasuk. They would point to somebody, say a pasuk from the parasha, and the Jew would say some pasuk, and then the Rebbe would go on for 2 or 3 hours on the pasuk. But it was always the tzaddik's response to who he's looking at. It was always a way of an expression of a Ahavas Yisrael. It's not, I want to write a best-selling book. You understand? That they're gonna publish my book one day. The tzaddikim didn't think b'chlal like this. All they thought about is that there's a person here who's in pain, or there's a person here who needs a shtach, right? Something, and I have to help this person. And that's how the tzaddikim taught. So even though you're reading something, you're learning a piece of Torah from the Kedushas Levi, and it's already so much time has gone by, but the words are B'dit Shiva. You understand the B'dit Shiva's words. So the B'dit Shiva was saying those words with that ahava, and it didn't get lost, even though all the years of being printed over and being printed again, and computers and printing and all kinds of things and machines, until you got your latest edition of Kedushas Levi, the Oiz V'Hada Kedushas Levi, and you're sitting with this, it's still straight from the printer, and it's fresh, it smells good, came straight from the printer. That's why I have a special love for taking out some of these. I look at old Svar. Every Friday night I have my Reb Leib Leg, have somebody, I got a gift from somebody from an original printing of the Teres Emes. I don't collect these things just because that's not much I wouldn't do to my family. It's a very expensive hobby to collect old Svar. But I have Baruch Hashem. Sometimes over the years I've gotten a gift. So I have a Naim Ali Melech that's a very short time after it was first, like a second printing, Kedushas Levi. They're very hard to read because it's old print. A lot of the letters are across, you can't see, and it's, it's not easy to read. But you're closer to you're closer to the Kedushas Levi. You're closer to the Naim Ali Melech. You're closer. It's when Sadik came to this medrash he came here after this medrash of the Chayz of Lublin in Lublin. He went and he started kissing the walls. These walls have the Chayz of Lublin. These are the walls that they have. These walls heard the Chayz of davening. These walls, like they're filled with the Chayz of Lublin. It's a different thing. So when you learn one of the Svar Kadoshim, and it's very different when you're learning an academic something. I remember that when I started to learn Shari Oira, which is a very, 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 very old and important Kabbalah Sefer. I started on Shari Oira many years ago. So the edition that I had, also somebody gave me as a gift. It was from Hebrew University of Bar Ilan. It was an academic edition, which was very carefully done. Because all the mistakes were taken out, and it had an index. It was nice. It was nice. I had nothing. And then I got in this farm store an old Shari Oira that was hard to read, and it was like printed someplace in Poland in 1875 or something. And it's a different thing. Even the people who printed it, people who printed it? Who are the people that were in charge? Who printed this? Where does it come from? Where was the paper? Where was the ink? So the sadikim have an unbelievable koch to put themselves into the words on the page. But and it's even more so if somebody has a schus. Somebody has a schus to be there in the presence to hear. Remember, I had my rebbeim were people. My rebbeim that I had were people who didn't only learn the Chofetz Chaim, they were talmidim of the Chofetz Chaim. They heard the Chofetz Chaim. My rebbeim heard the Chofetz Chaim. They heard the Chofetz Chaim. I told him when Rav Soloveitchik, when he was all upset because they printed something from Rav Chaim, and he said it's sheker, it's not true, and it was printed already in one of the books that they put out from Rav Chaim. He says it's not true. He says, and so they said, why? He says, I learned this sugi with Rav Chaim. So you're sitting in a room and you're saying, how do you know this is not? And he says, because I learned this sugi with Rav Chaim. That's my grandfather. I went, that's special. Okay, we defer. I learned this. Reb Chaim never said this. It's not true. What's in there? What they printed? That's not Reb Chaim. I'm telling you, Reb Chaim. This is what I learned with Reb Chaim. So it's when I told this many times over the years that when they started giving out these cards, to measure the matzah, those laminated cards. So my father, was very annoyed with that. It has to be this size. And my father just said to me, I was by the Seder once by the Minchas Elazar. I ate matzah with Minchas Elazar. He never had a card, and he didn't give such pieces like this kind of a piece. So I answered, I said, yeah, because the matzahs were thicker back then. So my father didn't like that answer either. The Minchas Elazar didn't have a matzah like they make on these cards, kind of matzah. It was like one of these nice Minchas Elazar gave. So I was thinking, my father got a piece of matzah from the hand of the Minchas Elazar. It's just what the tzadikim left a rosham on the world, and I don't know. That's why it's harder and harder for us to be better and better in certain ways. It's just we're further away from that rosham of always tzadikim of Hashem. To have that connection, it's a person feels that he has the koach, to win. You begin to look at yourself in a different way. You begin to look at yourself the way that Sadik looks at you. The Sadik looks at you in an entirely different way that you look at yourself. You look at yourself as all yuslach, as this, as bad, as terrible, as all these other things. And the Sadik didn't look at you like, he knew what your problems are, but he doesn't look at you that way. The Sadik looks at you with Einei Hashem el Sadikim. The Tzadikim have the eyes of Hashem. So it's Kriyah. Einei Hashem el Sadikim. The simple pshat of that, of course, is that Hashem looks at the tzaddikim. His eyes are upon the tzaddikim. But the Svarim say, Ein Hashem al tzaddikim is the tzaddikim have God's eyes. So it means that they look at you in a different way. They look at you in a different way. To see the Nekudas Taivas. And I'd say, once you begin to look at yourself in that way, even though you don't understand what happened, like what did this, how am I feeling this way? That tzaddik, you're learning his Torah. So that tzaddik is in the Torah. When then you begin to realize, no, there were many times in my life that I was Minatzeh. I'm not a complete lo yuslach. There were times that I was Minatzeh. And you begin to think of yourself differently. Next page, you learn the Svarim talk about being stronger and stronger. Chazak v'takif ma'od Hashem is stronger and stronger in your avodas Hashem. Kach yuchal yoysa, the more you're able to l'schazik the gvuras nafshay, the more you're mischazik to have a gvuras halev, lamod lilochem echshiyah, to get back into the fight, to get back into the ring. The and the main thing is lidches kol hamachshava shel chisaron koach. The main thing is to push away, to reject all thoughts of weakness. All thoughts of weakness. Any guy in sports that's going out to play, in the coach, the whole avoid of the coach is to get this guy to not to think about how he doesn't have koiches. That's the whole thing that the coach is trying to do. Who's the coach? He has one higher level IQ than the guys. Most likely he used to be a ball player himself, right? A lot of the coaches. I don't think any of them like nuclear physicists or anything. So they were themselves ball players. But he knows that the whole Indian of a nitzachin is that you have this chaskas, and not to think of yourself that you can't. That means that don't even start playing. Don't even start. You're not gonna get anywhere if you don't have koiches. Linchas kol hamachshava shechisaron koch. Elas oira shebevada yochel. That you miss oira that you do have the koch. Ulanasa shuv v'shuv, and then to keep on trying. Lo lestakel la'achayrav, not to look backwards. Amashal hisliach, on the past times that you were not much sliach. And don't compare it to how it was. I davened a few months ago, much stronger. No, you don't make comparisons. You just do what's b'koicha right now, what you could do. The daber divrei tchinis and bakoshes afli de b'lo. It means saying tchinis and bakoshes that are printed in the Sidurim and the Tehillim and Kutei Tfilis and all whatever they have, all these different Tfilis that they have from Sadikim over the years. The Sfadim have lots and lots of tchinis and bakoshes. Afli b'lo life, even if your heart is not in it. You push yourself to say the tefillas, to say tchinas and bakoshes. It's also a very, very powerful thing to say these tchinas and to say these bakoshes, to say the tefillas or different tchinas and bakoshes, tilum, whatever you feel works best for you. They have now in English. The whole Kutei Tfilis is already in English. You can get, and they have tchinas from the Yiddish tchinas that they have, and the Sfardish tchinas from the Ben Ish Chai and other sadikim. They have many things now already in English. If it's hard for a person in Hebrew, they have so many things in English. This Gabra on this Yonis Gambli Lev Ruach Chaim, and that will help a person to be Misgaber on this Yonis that he has in life, even if he didn't go into it with a Ruach, with strong Lev and Ruach. This will give you tremendous koiches. Can you imagine when you sang one of Rabbi Noson's tefillos, Mekudei tefillos? Rabbi Noson davened that. You're saying Tillim. David HaMelech davened that. David HaMelech didn't come home one day and say to one of his wives, I want to put out like a really, really good book on davening. And I have these different ideas of. And she said, "I'm so proud of you, honey. That's not how Tillim came to be. The David HaMelech decided he's going to write like a book on tefillah, a book of tefillahs. There's a David HaMelech's tefillahs. There's a Keli Lamaz Avtani Rachmi Shos Divish Agosi. David HaMelech is davening. So such an Indian that you could enter into David HaMelech's neshama. You could connect as David HaMelech. Bikshus Hashem Lakim as David Malcolm. You could enter into David HaMelech and to say words together with David HaMelech, saying them with you when you say Tillim. That even though a person doesn't know what he's talking about, and you start saying it below lev without anything, but you say them, you try to say them loud, not just to mumble, but you try to say the words loud. And now we have we have translations, everything. Inside, between the letters, between the words, on top of the page, bottom of the page, you get every kind of translation. They have Tillim that'll say the Tillim for you. Everything you have. Come to the Az the Kedusha, and the Chachila should be from a sefer, not from a telephone. Because sometimes a person doesn't have a choice. There's some place they want to daven and they don't have a siddur, so you have no choice. But if you could use it, it's better to use a siddur, not to use a telephone. Because again, what do you have? What do you have in the who's in there? It's not a printed word. It's not the words from. At least when you open a siddur, even though it was printed, but self there are people that printed it with the intention that it should be David HaMelech. But when it's on a computer, it's a different experience. People nowadays they're learning from computers also. You see people sitting in a Beis Medrash that they're learning the Gemara from a computer because they like it, because they could highlight and underline and press a button and it'll be the Rashba, press this button, it'll be the Ritva, instead of walking into the Beis Medrash with the whole stack of Svarim You can just sit there and press this and press that. It's not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. It's chaval. That's not as it is. The Har Sinai Shavuos is a long time ago, and we're trying the best that should be panim b'panim, be Hashem. To talk to Hashem is about panim b'panim. When it's on a computer, it's not panim b'panim. This person, this wonderful Sadik I was talking to, who was giving shiur on a computer. So I said, "So what do you see when he gives on a computer?" I said, "What do you see?" He says, "Honestly, mostly myself." He says, "What's that like? You see yourself on the computer, or he sees a monitor." I said, at least when it's zooming, so you have some people show up over there, because even though it's not the same thing either. But just to look at a computer, to look at a screen, and to talk to a screen, what is that? Talk to a screen. When you open up a sefer, you open up a tillim, then you're making a different connection. Love az the kedusha. It says chazkes az the kedusha. It's shum dor liyuchalam nayos. Therefore, we have to ask Hashem a lot. That we should learn this, and we should have a hesaris from this. Again, not just to think about it, but to have hesaris. Our entire, everything in our lives, all of our Yiddishkeit, everything, it all depends on hischazkus gvuras halev liilachim, having gvuras halev. You want to be a better friend, a better parent, a better husband, a better wife, a better child. Everything depends on hischazkus and gvuras halev. Because you can read all the right ideas and you have good ideas, but if you don't have gvuras halev, you're not going to put them into practice. You're just not going to do it. So if something happens, you get upset. But you just made a whole scene on the book about anger, and so how come you're getting all upset? Because it's without gvuras halev. It's without gvuras halev. Saying it loud and going over, and going to put into use, to do it, to read something that's good, and to go and to do it, and to be misgaber, to do it. And through that, a person acquires gvuras halev liilachim. More and more gvuras halev liilachim. Remember, that's what we learned last week. The best chizuk that you get is success. When you see that you're able to do it, that's the biggest chizuk. That you could do it. I was talking to somebody who, I didn't bring it up, he brought it up. He's always late to shul. Always. Now, I didn't bring it up, but he felt, because he felt that maybe I was looking at him. I don't have to look at him. I know he's always late, and he's always late. So he said to me, two words. And I didn't give any more. So he just said two words. He said, "I can't." I said, "What does that mean? I can't. I'm not talking to you about making an atom bomb. What do you mean I can't?" So it's just like the diburim. I try other things, but this my whole life I'm having a problem. I can't come on time. I can't come on time. You can't come on time. What does that mean, Bichlal? What does that mean? I can't. It's hard. But the lashonos of Yeush are so strong. And if the same person would push himself and to come on time, of course he can come on time. I'm not talking about 5 o'clock in the morning. Even then, you can go. If he had something that he wanted to get up to make $1 million, he'd be not. Doesn't have to be $1 million to make $1,000. He'd be 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd be the first guy in the room. You can't. You don't have gvuras halev, so you have to mechazik yourself with gvuras halev. And I can, and I must, and then you do it the next day. Not I'm going to see 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, because then I'm going to have a break. So I have a few days vacation, so maybe then I'll be more rested and I'll be able to get up to go to Medav. No, I'm going tomorrow. The next Shabbos, I'm getting up. Not Shabbos, tomorrow morning, I'm getting up. There are people that their entire lives, they come in late to shul. Entire lives. And then they expect their kids that their kids are going some of them it's not 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's like 4 minutes late. But never there when the brachas start. What is that? Never there when the brachas start. when the Bat Tefillah starts. It's always like there's this feeling, I don't have the strength to do this. But how do you explain that? You are a healthy young person. All the alter kakas were there already half hour ago. They're the ones that they're 3 times your age. They were there already hours ago, and or a half hour ago, whatever it is. And you can't. You can, but you've been so conditioned with this way of thinking. You have to change that, and you have to daven for it. Ask Hashem to help you, and then when you go to sleep at night, besides setting the alarm and everything else that you need to do to make sure that everything is ready for you to be there on time, you daven, you ask Hashem for help, and you talk about it, and that should be important to you. And you should have his chazkes, and he should. Don't say I can't. Everything depends on this. Same thing ben al. Everything depends on this. Not just coming to shul on time, but also ben al things with other people. Everything depends on this. Because all gibarim, all strong Jews, and all those who are people who are matzliach, whether it's in ruchnius or it's even in business or God, all those people who are matzlichim. All those are matzlichim. Ein behem. He says, "Ki kol giborim b'chol hamatzlichim be'emes ein behem gvur klal." They're not physically. Doesn't mean that they're physically strong. Doesn't mean they're physically strong. Raksha kol koichem hu b'leiv. Physically, again, the old man's in shul long before the young guy. How do you explain that? It can't. It has nothing to do with gvuras haguf, because the old guy's not strong, and you are. It's all Gvuras Alev. Everything is Gvuras Alev. Kol koichem u'balev. That's what Rabbi Nachum is teaching you. Kol koichem balev. Gvuras Alev. Something that's upsetting you, something you're worried about, also. Not to get stuck in that, but to go with Gvuras Alev, to go past that machshava. Not to let yourself get stuck in that machshava. But you use your whole life that when there's a negative thought, or you're depressed about something, you just like sink into it. And they use the word now, you embrace that feeling. Don't embrace that feeling, throw it away. And go weiter. Gvuras Alev. Everything depends on Gvuras Alev. You see people nowadays, that life has never been better. Everybody's ungeblues and walking around depressed people. Healthy, young people walking around depressed. Everybody's depressed. Everything. Depressing. I'm depressed. The stress and depressed and stress and depressed. It's not because of physical strength or weakness, because the people have never been healthier ever. Never been healthier than we are now. Baruch Hashem. So what is this? What is this that you stress and depressed and anxious? And I'm not talking about when someone has some kind of a chemical imbalance. A lot of that is also bubomyces, but there's something to it. But where is it? What is it with you? It's Gvuras Alev. I'm depressed, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that. It's Gvuras Alev. Everything is Gvuras Alev. And when a person tries it, as mechazik himself, and he doesn't, and he's doiche b'shtei yadayim, and instead he goes into this sefer, he goes into this tefillah, and he goes and he moves ahead. But you don't know people that have bigger tzaros than you. People that have bigger tzaros than us. People that have terrible tzaros, la'alayim. Terrible tzaros. We'd be ashamed. When we're depressed, we'd be ashamed to share this with some lady that's got 6 kids and her husband was killed. So then what are you going to do? And she's going about and doing a million things. She's running around the whole world giving chizuk to people and so on. And what is it to you? What's with you? What is it with you? What are you upset? What are you depressed about? Whatever it is, it's not what she has. So don't compare. It's not nice because that's a big no-no nowadays. You're not allowed to do that. You compare, then that person could get all angry and upset at you. No, but think about it. What is it with you? It's Gvuras Alev. It's not about physical strength. It's about Gvuras Alev. And that a person can work on, to be mechazik the Gvuras Alev. Tzarich lizkor inyan zeh b'protius. The person has to think about this mamish b'protius. B'chol yom v'yom. Protius means in all details of his life. B'chol tefillah or nisayin. When you're davening and with every nisayin that you have. La'oira ba'atzma ruach shel gvura k'shimshon hagibur. Which Rabbi Nachman said in the Torah, like Shimshon hagibur. The Shimshon hagibur was not 6'8" with big muscles. Shimshon hagibur was a yeshiva bacher. It wasn't the Incredible Hulk. He was a yeshiva bacher. From where Shimshon, so it says in Navi, from where he took his gvura. His gvura was alive. The ruach of Shimshon. The ruach. Hagibur shepiyam by ruach Hashem. Ruach, the ruach of Shimshon hagibur. Ruach shel schazkus b'Hashem yisborach. Ruach shel schazkus b'Hashem yisborach. I once mentioned to you that Rabbi Nosson Breslov had an anical grandchild, Rabbi Avram, was a Sadik. And he was already very old, and he was very makbid to go to the mikveh every day, this Rabbi Avram. And he already had terrible problems with one of his legs. And it was very hard. It took long, and it was very hard for him to get to the mikveh. So one day he was almost like crawling to the mikveh. And somebody saw this and had Rahmanis, and he didn't have a car either. There's no cars then. So he just tried to talk to Rabbi Avram about, Rabbi, you don't have to go to the mikveh every day. It's not every Kippur, and it's certainly in your condition, in your health, and as old as you are, it's okay if you're not. It's hard for you with the leg and all. He tried to help Rabbi Avram out, and Avram told him, the way it says in the Sefer is, the lashon was, it said Zoysemer. Right? What I want to say is, he said that. I'm trying to remember the exact words. Kol zman sheyesh chayim, chayovim lichyos. He says, as long as there is life, I must live. As long as there is life, I must live. That's what he said. That's the Meridian words.
Kol zman sheyesh chayim.
Kol zman sheyesh chayim, chayovim lichyos. As long as there's life, I must live. And that's how he pushed himself to the mikveh. Don't feel bad for me. If I can't, I won't. Kol zman that I'm alive, and if it's physically possible for me. Now, a million other people would say in his condition, just, it's okay. And not to feel that he can get out the front door. And he's making his way to the mikveh. Because if I'm alive, I want to live. No. Lo omus ki echya. If I'm alive, I want to live. And my life depends on going to the mikveh. And I'll get there. That's a different kind of a way of thinking. That's Gurus Alev. L'or ba'atzma ruach shel gvur k'shimshon hagibur she'im Hashem ruach shel schazkas b'Hashem yisborach b'zeh lovash gvur v'asa gvurus naros, and Shimshon did amazing things. With this ruach of Hashem, it wasn't because of working out. So l'maisa ikka gvur hi b'leiv. That's the l'maisa. L'zay sarch likfites l'sarch al-machama afil b'mashu means don't retreat. Jump onto the battlefield, even if it's a little bit. Afil b'mashu, even a little bit. Don't run away. And when you do that, when you see that you're even a little bit, that little bit itself will be mechazik your heart. The kanas la'oid milchamas l'netzeh. To go to more milchamas and to be menetzeh. Even if it's a mashu, just not to retreat, not to run away, not to say I can't. Even a mashu. Even if this guy would see he can come 5 minutes earlier, so it's not 15, 20 minutes, 5 minutes earlier. It would already be, he's in the milchama of fighting for some more minutes of davening. He's already in the milchama. And we also learn that for many people, especially those who feel that they just don't have any energy at all, but for everybody, especially for those people, the sadikim are always there. Sadikim are waiting there to help us. Those who are alive, those who are no longer alive, the tzaddikim with their tires, with their tefillas, with their avodah, with their hashpah, the hashpah of the tzaddikim. Even if you go to the city where that tzaddik lived, because they used to say that, that if you say the name of Levi Yitzchak ben Sar Sasha, right? If you say the Bedichev's name, so the Baruch brings down all kinds of all kinds of rachim, because Hashem hears somebody say the name, Levi Yitzchak ben Tzosar. The sadikim say that even if you don't say, even if you just say Reb Levi Yitzchak Baditchev, and even if you don't say Reb Levi Yitzchak, you say the Baditchev. And even if you don't get to the scene of the Baditchev, you just stand outside the city, and even if you just see a sign that says Baditchev, it's already a mash. It's already you're entering into the world. You're going into Baditchev zone. You're going there to Reb Levi Yitzchak Baditchev. It's already entering into that place of ischaskas of the Sadik, of the Dalet Amos of the Sadik, the world of the Sadik. When you're in that world of the sadikim, so then he's chaskas. Chazik is liboy, the lichboish.